In this video, I'm going to react to 5 winter items only used in America. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. This is the place where I react to music, media, sports, anime, anything related to popular culture. I'll watch it with an open mind and give you my 100% honest reaction to it. And if you could please hit that like button early, I'd really appreciate it. Now, this should be a lot of fun. I really love Lost in the Pond, one of my favorite channels on YouTube, just because it's a guy, so Lawrence, he lived in the UK all his life, moved to America with his wife, and he kind of describes like some key differences between our two countries, even though we're really similar in a lot of ways, you know, similar culture, similar ways of life, values, beliefs, but just the tiny little differences. And this video I'm gonna find really useful, just because I've mentioned it in a lot of other videos that I'm planning a little sort of 5-week visit to the US, 2 in the Canada trip next year. Initially I was gonna go in January, quite earlier in the year, but now it's kind of looking like March, so the weather will be kind of a little bit better, but it's still going to be pretty cold, I imagine. And I hear that American winters and Canadian winters are a lot more brutal than British ones. Like, for me personally, I would say the worst it really gets here is like minus 6 or minus 7 Celsius, and man, it is brutally cold. Like, but I've had people in the comments say, like, you know, minus 6, you know, that's like t-shirt weather. That it can get like up to minus 35 in some places, and I just cannot even imagine going outside if it's that cold. You know, I can't imagine the thickness of the coats that you have to wear, you know, thick caps as well to stop your ears from freezing off. But yeah, this video is going to really sort of show the key kind of winter items that I might need to kind of get myself in preparation for my trip. So let's go. This is going to be me reacting to 5 winter items only used in America. Let's do it.
In England, I've never known weather that would sort of necessitate
What is that? What's this on his head?
this kind of headgear. There's wind, but there's not sort of wind that brings along with it a wind chill of minus a billion. Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to the weather. Of course, the weather in both countries at this time of year gets a little cold, and we as human beings have to survive. In order to do so, we don't just shut ourselves in our houses and stick the heating on high. I mean, we do that. In fact, I mostly do that. But there are other ways in which we survive, and that is through the use of winter objects. Growing up in England, I will tell you now, there were certain winter objects with which I was familiar, you know, sledges instead of sleds, or toboggans. Did the same thing, pretty much. And just thin woolen gloves and snowballs. They're not an object, they're just...
Yeah, literally, like, when it gets really cold, people will wear, like, maybe a relatively thick jacket, some, you know, thin wool gloves, nothing really thick, just literally, like, barely just cover your hand. Maybe a hat. I don't really wear woolly hats. I usually go for a scarf, but that's pretty much it.
That's just snow congealed. But after moving to America, I realised there were actually a plethora of different objects I'd never encountered before because I never needed them. And so what we're going to do today is we are going to go down 1 to 5, actually no, in reverse order, 5 to 1, and look at the very objects about which I'm speaking. Now, before we do get underway here, just a quick disclaimer and a recap. The disclaimer being that some of these objects may well turn up in England. It's just that I didn't have cause to use them back in England, and I don't think that I was an outlier in that regard, whereas the objects I'm about to talk about are actually quite commonplace here in the United States as opposed to in England. Okay, so that's the disclaimer. And the reminder is, when I first moved to the United States, I moved to the American Midwest. Very specifically, I moved to the middle of Indiana. I've since moved on to Chicago. Of course, in both places and in much of the northern United States.
I hear Chicago winters get really cold. Like, is that one of the worst places? No, I imagine probably Alaska's probably the coldest, right? Or where else? Where are the coldest places in America? Where gets the coldest? Let me know in the comments.
United States, snow and cold weather is absolutely paramount. That's probably not the right word. There's an abundance of it, shall we say, and we'll be looking at that as compared to the UK in a future video. But without further ado, let's take a look at 5 winter objects I didn't use until I moved to America.
Snow shovel.
Well, this is an interesting one. So shovels absolutely exist in the United Kingdom. It's just that they're usually used for shoveling dirt.
Yeah.
And because of the sort of rare event that is snow, you won't usually find somebody purchasing what is referred to as a snow shovel that's sold as a snow shovel. Because there are differences between a snow shovel and a regular shovel. It's usually size, because everything is bigger in America and snow shovels are no different. And of course, snow itself is no different, at least here in the north. It was in my first winter here. My brother-in-law showed me how to use one.
Man. Hang on, is he knee deep in snow or is this just the angle? No freaking way. Is he actually knee deep in snow? Like here, the worst snow you'll get is, say, what's that? About 6 or 7 inches, like that thick. That's the worst it'll get. That looks ridiculous.
Self-explanatory. Does what it says on the tin. Just grab it by the handle and whatever that bit is, the neck, and do that and throw it. It's a lot of hard labour. Nobody tells you that going in. And my brother-in-law didn't tell me that going in, and I left with cramp in my arm. Actually, it would have been very useful if you'd have told me about the next entry on this list, you brother.
Snow blower.
Unfortunately, just like the shovel, I don't have one of those handy to show you because I rent these days. But they are absolutely brilliant. And again, I've only used one once, but it was the absolute coolest machine, literally, because it was filled with snow. But the thing is about it, it's not filled with snow. I mean, it is temporarily, but what you do is you just push it along like this, right through the snow, and it just pushes all of the snow out to the side. It's a bit, usually hits family members, brother-in-laws specifically. I did apologise at the time. And I still haven't spoken to him since. But they are absolutely amazing. We just don't have cause to use them much in the UK. You may see members of the council using them, but not actual human beings. So that was quite a revelation to realise that a lot of people had snowblowers just hanging around in their sheds.
Wow.
And the sheds were covered in snow too, so you had to use the snow shovel just to get into them, to get to the snowblower. It defeated the purpose entirely.
I mean, like, when it snows in America, how long does it snow for? Here, we'll get like snow for maybe like a week max. Max, it'll be like a week. Then it'll go and then it might come back for a few days. It just won't be consistent. Do you guys get snow for like weeks and weeks and weeks? Like, let me know, man. I can't believe, like, so there's actual devices specifically for snow that people own. Crazy.
Until you did the garden. Both of these come in handy when you're just trying to get through the snow and to your actual car. We experienced this for about 8 years when we owned a car while living in Indiana, and I will tell you, one of the worst jobs during winter is shoveling the snow away from the vehicle just so you can get out. Sometimes it gets 2 feet deep and, you can't even see your car, much less get in it. And then once you've cleared all that away, you've still got to contend with the ice on the windscreens. And you can either turn on the car, heat it all the way up and just sit for an hour until it all melts. That's not happening. Or something else you could do if you were in a rush, which was me most days because I slept through my alarm, is you could scrape all of that ice off with what is known as an ice scraper. Again, I think they have these in the UK, but they're only used really in very, very extreme circumstances. This is something that you will do multiple times every single winter up here in the Midwest of the United States. Wow. I know, I did it, and I got a return to that arm cramp that I got from the shovel. It is just one long winter of arm cramp. I will say this, though, there is something quite pleasing about that. If you're wearing the right gloves and it's not too cold out, never do the ice scraping without gloves, because you'll regret it 5 minutes after getting into the car. But if you've got gloves on and you're doing that, it is quite cathartic. So long as you don't break the windscreen. Sometimes it feels like you are doing that because you're scraping off basically ice, which can look and sound like glass. And then once you've scraped off all the ice, right, and there's just bits of powdery ice on the windscreen and bits of snow, the best thing then to do is just open the door and slam it, and you just cause this sort of little avalanche on the car. So long as you don't cause an actual avalanche. If you're living in the mountains, just be careful. I mentioned there gloves. It is very important to have good gloves, but equally important while you're wading through all of this snow is our 4th entry. I truly didn't believe how bad it was going to get in the Midwest until I actually saw it with my own eyes. So after doing all of the shoveling or the snow blowing or the scraping of the ice, I realized that I'd made the mistake of wearing sneakers in the snow the whole.
This is another thing. I mean, I don't own a pair of shoes specific for snow or ice. I don't think anybody I know does. Literally, you just walk carefully to try and avoid slipping. You know, when the snow gets compressed and it becomes like ice. Yeah, that's what most people do. I don't think many people own snowshoes. Wow, snowshoes.
Whole time. Don't do that, because there's a number of reasons. Firstly, the snow gets inside your shoe. You don't want that. And also, it's just cold and wet all round. So you need to be able to keep your feet warm. I think that's almost the most important thing, because those are the things that are going into the actual snow. So to do that, you have to have one of these. Well, not one.
Wow.
You need two. It would be really silly if you only had one. It's a boot, but look at it. It's bigger than
That's a unit, man. Look how big that shoe is. That's an absolute unit.
me. And I have to get inside this. It is, you do feel protected. I feel like a foot soldier when I'm wearing this. And I do have another one just for the record. It's right here. Sorry, they've not been cleaned since last winter. I'll get round to that. Put one of them down because they are cumbersome and heavy. Arm cramp. Again, arm cramp is the thing that happens in winter. But they are absolutely amazing and heavy. Arm cramp. Again, arm cramp is the thing that happens in winter. But they are absolutely amazing. And they do keep your feet warm. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And if you're ever set upon by an enemy, just kick them between the legs with this and they'll never come after you again. It's really, though, two boots. It's this black boot right there that you see.
Yeah,
but inside it,
like a thick
it's this
sock.
sort of... I'm going to pull it out. Look at that. It looks like a wrestling boot. I've never noticed that before. Again, if somebody comes at you, just...
Yeah, I bet those things keep your feet super warm. Warm and toasty.
pretend you are Ric Flair. Put that down. They're really good. I love them. I've had these 2 years. Absolutely need them in Chicago, especially if you're cycling in Chicago. That's nuts. Who does that in the snow? I did last winter. I'm a brave soul. I wouldn't be quite as brave, though, if I didn't have the final entry on this list.
Face shield.
So this is a face shield, and what its important job is that not only does it sort of keep snow off you and things like that, the important thing that it does is it keeps...
It looks like a ninja. It looks like a balaclava.
the cold wind, the harsh wind of Chicago off you. It also keeps those people that come at you off you. They'll think you're a Bond baddie and call MI6 or something. I don't know why I'm wearing this. Sorry if it looks terrifying. I'll take it down because there's no wind in here. I don't really need it. And actually, it's making it very hard to breathe, which isn't good when you're trying to present a video. But this is one of the best acquisitions I ever made as an athlete here in Chicago. I'm not an athlete. I mean, I ride to work for recreation. I wouldn't be seen dead wearing this in England. There'd be no reason to wear this in England. You don't want to wear one of these while it's raining. That's for sure, because it would just get soaked all round. In England, I've never known weather that would sort of necessitate this kind of headgear.
To be honest, I'm not sure, I would want to wear one of those just because I get really hot. I know that, the winters in America I've never experienced, but I get so hot. I worry that I would just sweat and just get all gross, Or maybe just because it's so cold outside, that wouldn't happen. But yeah, I get really, really hot.
There's wind, but there's not sort of wind that brings along with it a wind chill of minus a billion. I'm trying to think of a scenario in which you would need it. It doesn't quite go with the tweed hat. But I absolutely love it on me. My wife loves it on me.
I know.
What do you mean you don't? That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me here in this new year. No live...
Now, that was interesting. Snowshoes. I knew they existed, but I've never owned a pair. I don't know anyone who has a pair of snowshoes. And it just seems because over here, it gets really cold, well, -6 type cold. But like I mentioned earlier in the video, the snow we get is nowhere near as thick as the stuff you get out there, maybe 7 inches, I'd say. So, by the time I'm ready to go out, usually there's a path of footsteps that's been well trodden, so if you just follow those footsteps, you're gonna be okay in normal shoes. But I guess if Lawrence said 2 feet of snow, that's like that much snow. That's enormous. you're definitely gonna need a special pair of shoes. The face shield made me laugh. It very sort of like sneaky kind of looking thing, but I guess if the wind chill is really bad, then yeah, you're gonna need one of those as well. Really interesting video. Definitely picked up a few things. It's going to be funny, like when I experience my first winter, eventually, if it's not next year, but I'll definitely experience it, like how many of those things I end up buying. It'll be really interesting. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, and keep throwing the recommendations my way. I know I say it all the time, but they genuinely help me out, because if I know you enjoyed watching something, I'll definitely enjoy reacting to it. So like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, keep throwing the recommendations, and I'll catch you in the next one.